Hello, everyone. Y'all know me. I'm Jerome here with Bandhead Network. And today I want to talk about some things that have really been troubling me. Forgive me, it's been a long day at work. I'm a little tired, but I'm going to power through. Um, Welcome. I don't know if there's going to be a part 2 or 3 to this, but we're going to get this part going. We're going to call this the chalk lines, uncovering abuse in schools. And I'm not used to speaking a lot of this, so I'm just going to go ahead and do some reading so that we can get this going. All right. Uncovering abuse in schools, where we try to confront the hard truths about the institutions meant to protect our youth and what happens when that trust is broken. Today, we're diving into a deeply disturbing but necessary conversation. The betrayal of students by the very people entrusted to educate and safeguard them, teachers who become predators. While the vast majority of teachers are dedicated, compassionate, and hardworking individuals who change lives for the better, a small but devastating minority have used their positions of authority to groom, manipulate, and abuse children under their care. Grooming is a calculated process. It often begins with seemingly harmless attention, special favors, private conversations, or small gifts. Over time, boundaries are crossed, subtly at first, then dangerously. By the time the child or even their community realizes something is wrong, enormous damage has already been done. This is not an easy conversation, but it is vital. Today, I have a few of my friends that are here to kind of go over some things with me. And I cast a very small net, just some people that I've had on the show in the past, and then some professionals that I know that are able to speak more on this topic. We had 3 people. One person is kind of caught in traffic, so they're dealing with something right now. So we're going to start by bringing Jamie and almost Dr. Kells to the stage. All right, let me unmute you guys. There we go. I think you can unmute yourself. There we go, Jamie and Kelly. All righty. So, Jamie, let's go ahead and introduce yourself, and you can share with everybody what you do.
Okay. Well, I've worked in the field of music education for 18 years now. I'm currently the director of bands at McKee Middle School in Montgomery, Alabama. What else do we need to know? I think that's about it, right?
Okay. What school did you come from? Let's get all of that out. Because usually I'm doing marching bands, right? And so I asked the band director what school you went to, what'd you play, all that other kind of stuff. But you can just tell us what school you went to.
I went to Bethune-Cookman
Hell,
College.
Wildcats. That's what I'm talking about.
Red Pool, all of that. Okay. Music education 2007. Have a master from Walden University and an educational specialist from there as well in administrative leadership. I played piccolo and third flute in the Montgomery Symphony Orchestra. And yeah, just glad to be here.
All right. Glad to have you. Thank you so much for participating. And then next we have almost Dr. Kells. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Hi, my name is Kelly Emerson. I am currently the director of Trio Student Support Services at Paul Quinn College in Dallas, Texas. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a minor in Africana Studies from the University of New Orleans, an MBA from American Intercontinental University, and I am working on my doctoral degree in education from the Morgan State University in Community College Leadership. I was not in the band in college, but I did play clarinet from middle school to high school. So, yes, I was in the band.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. So we have some hot words that I wrote down. Well, just one real hot word in grooming. That's the hot word. Okay, so we're gonna jump straight into this. Um, well, let's just say how I got started with this. Every now and then I would see an article pop up. Bam, band director caught an inappropriate relationship with student. Bam, band director caught an inappropriate relationship with student. Or I'd be in circles talking, at events, and I'd hear like, "Nah, bro, nah, man, that ain't the one to be with." That one, he ain't doing the right things. Everybody know it's going on, but nobody's doing anything about it. Now, have I experienced anything firsthand, or have I had any students come to me to tell me? No, but I'm a father and I have 4 kids. All of them are over the age of 18, but I know that even at this age now that they are, if someone used their authority over my kids and used that to take advantage of them in any kind of way, whether it was money or sexual favors or anything like that, I would be highly upset and ready to flip upside down any institution that either knew anything about it and ignored it, or knew anything about it and didn't tell me about it. And that is extremely frustrating. And because of that, that made me want to reach out to some of my friends and say, hey, I want to talk about this. And our goal today is to make sure that we can help a kid anywhere, high school, middle school, college, anything like that. We want to make sure that we can help you see these warning signs and know how to prevent it from happening to you. And if you are stuck in that situation now, our goal today is to show you how to get yourself out of it. So we have our panel here with us, beautiful brown ladies. Thank you both for being a part of this. We're going to jump straight into this. My first question: what early warning signs should we be looking for to try and prevent inappropriate relationships before they begin? Jamie, I'll go to you.
Well, being that I was in band all through middle, high, college, you know, forever. I did not see any it happening in particular to anyone in the programs I was in, but from like seeing other programs and hearing from other young ladies in other programs, some of the things they would see. I mean, a lot of these, directors are bold. I mean, they'll say, sit next to them on the bus on the way back from the games.
Mhm.
The girl always in the office. They always in each other's face. They calling each other. They texting each other. You know, the signs in the band world. I mean, they're a lot of times they be right there in your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanna go into what grooming actually is, and I have a definition of what grooming is. Grooming is a calculated series of behaviors where an adult builds trust with a child and often the adults around that child with the goal of exploiting that child later. It is rarely forceful at first. It's always sweet in the beginning. Always little compliments here, little compliments there. Something that you should not be saying. Or you go and you pay a cell phone bill for that child. Or you giving that kid a ride home, but nobody else is in the car with you, just you and that child. Or the mama's down on it, her cell phone got cut off. You go pay the mama's cell phone bill or something like that. And the mama thinks, oh, he's just a nice man. But I'll continue with the definition. It's about slowly pushing boundaries, isolating the child emotionally, making them feel special, and making inappropriate behavior seem normal over time. Because it looks like special attention, it's easy for the parents and even other teachers to miss. That's what grooming is. I'll go back to question one, Kelly. Dr. Almost Dr. Kells. What?
Um,
Yeah, you got it. I'm sorry.
No, so I also wanted to jump in with some other things in regards to grooming that I did find out and found very interesting. And this is actually from like the Department of Ed. So it's a formal definition of grooming for higher education. So the website says to keep their conduct a secret, perpetrators coerce and groom. That is, as sexual contact escalates, they methodically increase the attention and rewards they give to their targets. And this is from Robbins 2000. Grooming allows perpetrators to test their target's silence at each step. To nurture the relationship, perpetrators make the target feel special by, for example, brandishing gifts and or spending extra time with the target in non-sexual ways, all in an effort to learn whether the target will keep silent. At the same time, the perpetrator is also testing the adults surrounding the child or school, including those who work at school, individuals in the school community, and the child's family or guardians. It is common for the behaviors to be done publicly so that the perpetrator can gauge reactions, share information, true or false, to manipulate how the behavior is interpreted by the adults and further control the child victim. For example, a teacher may lead their colleagues to believe the parent has provided consent for them to drive a student home because the parent needs help. In response, the perpetrator receives accolades and gratitude from their colleagues and has begun the process of grooming peers as well. So,
Wow.
that is a lot of what we see in regards to grooming. And we don't think about it that way. But now, when you hear that definition, it's exactly what we see and how we've heard stories of young adults that have been groomed. That's what they say, right? And good prime high example is the R. Kelly story, right? How the parents basically put their child unknowingly on a platter or knowingly, to R. Kelly for them to be groomed because they were receiving positive positive things from him, right? Um, but some of the earlier signs that we see as far as in education. So my Department of Student Support Services, my goal is to help first generation low income students and students with documented disabilities to navigate college, right? So they are the most vulnerable that we see and that we have, because there has been no one that's come before them to kind of tell them the rights or the wrongs. So then they get into this college environment and they're overwhelmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of the signs that we would see or that you would look for is faculty showing excessive personal interest in a specific student, unreported or informal meetings outside of class hours or in private settings, boundary crossing digital communication, such as late night text messages or social media DMs. And then, of course, complaints from peers or students that suggest favoritism or very much so discomfort. So it could be like jokes, quote unquote. It could be inappropriate, like touching that seems harmless, but that kind of gives students the ick, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of like those early warning signs that you see that grooming is about to happen.
Yeah, and it's a shame. It's sad because number one, um, what do you want with a child?
Right.
That's my first thing. What do you want with a child?
Can I
Why?
answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Control and manipulation. And, we see it so much in the band world because, a lot of what comes with being a band director is a lot of ego. A lot of ego comes into that. And so these are individuals, They want their ego stroked. They want control. They want to control someone and run someone.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be always right. Me, you know. And so that's why that happens, a lot in the band
Right.
world.
So
It starts with the director worship.
right.
That is from high school to collegiate. I'm sorry if I'm jumping straight to the jugular, but I'm just saying it is what it is. That's what's happening. These certain people, they thrive off of someone pumping them up all the time.
Off the
And
power.
so that leads into that. So the worship, they want it in relationships as well. They
Right.
get outside the band, they get it in the band world so much.
Right. Okay. All right. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah, because I mean, I know a lot of band directors and they get drunk off that power. You know, I guess it's all about how they use it though. Was it Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility. So, you got to think about it. That's real. That's not just, something that's comic book or anything like that. That's real. We should be mindful of that. And you should see yourself as a servant, just like a politician is. You should see yourself as a servant when you're a band director. You're there to guide those young minds and mold them and get them right. All I could think about was my band director, Carl Collins. He impressed. I really wasn't. I was like, if I go to school, go to band, I was gonna go to Grambling. That's all I knew. And then Carl Collins came and he made college look cool. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't even thinking about going to college before he showed up at my high school. He made college look cool, and then he showed me what it was like to see other schools and not just what I knew of. And he molded me and got me where I needed to be to make the next step in my life. And that's what you're supposed to be doing as a leader or a servant. Because when you're a leader, you serve. That's literally what you do. That's your job. And your job is not to be served, especially by those that are in your care.
You're there to teach music.
Yeah. Inspire them. Good. Yeah, it's the dad in me, y'all. I got 3 boys and a daughter. And I told my boys, I said, I'd die for you, but I go to jail for your sister. Unalive, was I supposed to say unalive? I don't know. I hope we don't get censored.
But the sad part about it is people like those that get caught up in the grooming situations, like when you get to the point like where you have to confront the person, right? Like when you have determined that this is 100% wrong, right? And I'm in the position to like confront the person and tell the person how I feel about it. They ultimately turn it around on the student and say, well, it made you a better person, didn't you? Didn't it? Like you turned out better, didn't you? Like, and you like, wait, what? Like who says that?
2 chops to the throat right there. I swear.
Right. Like nobody asks like for the abuse, right?
Right.
So how can you even like justify that?
You've lived that child. You have taken an experience away from that child.
Right.
And hopefully it didn't happen to you, whoever's doing this, because that's typically how it happens. It happens to them and then they do it to somebody else.
And the people that co-sign on it is who I call the side guys, these percussion instructors, these instructors, these after school people. And a lot of times it ain't even they're co-signing on it for the band director, or a lot of times I've seen it where it works the other way around. A director will have somebody up there to work a band camp or work with the students, and the director is allowing them to sleep with the kids. It's a whole heap of that going on. And they allow it. They know it's going on. And anybody that I know personally of people that has let that go on in their program. And really, while we sit up here calling a spade, it's a lot of y'all favorite band directors.
I agree.
A lot of y'all favorite ones, y'all be piping up. They been letting people sleep with the kids for years and being okay with it.
You know, on Tuesdays, I do a podcast. It's called Church Diaries Unlocked. And that's what kind of, other than the fact that, you know, I've been seeing the stories pop up and things like that, as I see these victims that are being affected by these pastors that are in these positions, and everything you guys said is all the same with the predatory behavior. It's all the same. How they're drunk on their power, or nobody's gonna say anything because he's the rah rah sis boom ba of what he does. Can't nobody preach like he do. Can't nobody lead the people like he do. But he lost. And if the blind lead the blind, they both gonna fall in the ditch. I'm sorry. Let me get off my church pedestal. But
It's kind of the same. It
yeah.
really is. It kind of is.
It's just sad, and it's frustrating. But I don't like, again, like I told you guys before we got started, I want to be respectful of your time, and so we're going to move on to the next question, and we're going to try to get to the end of this so that we can help kids that like, again, understand those behaviors. If you're watching this, or whenever you watch this, we just spoke on the grooming part of it. These are things that you should look out for. The band director should not be giving you special favors. Okay. It may seem cool in the beginning, but it's going to end up getting a little crazy. Even to the fact that some band directors have stalked kids. I've seen it. Well, I haven't seen it. I've seen of it happening. Again, if I saw it firsthand, I would speak to that person on it. And because it's a responsibility as a parent to report it. So if you're doing it and I'm there with my camera in my hand, stay away from me. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I don't want to see it, and I ain't finna. And if I see it, it's going down. Next question: how can background checks and hiring practices evolve to detect red flags before teachers are hired? Anybody can jump on that.
I'll start.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Well, the thing is, when you get hired, as a teacher, I mean, it has the requirements and different things have dwindled over time. You know what I'm saying? Due to the shortage, they're taking anybody now. They're taking anybody off the street. I mean, they're still going through the same process. Of course, you have to get fingerprinted. If you don't have any FBI stuff out there on you or whatever, but really, anybody can get hired. Like if they didn't get caught when they do these things, all they do a lot of times they'll move to another state or something like that, and it takes them so long for them to, like, if they do have a certificate, it's so many people working now without certificates, you really can't keep track of that. But if they do, in the rare, because we're rare nowadays, those of us with certificates, they it takes so long for them to suspend it or to revoke it, that they can work in another state for a whole nother year before any of that even hits the fan.
Wow.
So they're just throwing warm bodies in the classroom now. And so now we have a lot of these people that, they weren't majors, they were marching band majors, and so they trying to stay in these schools, just holding warm body spots, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And some of them are doing a good job, but still,
Yeah. You got a response, Kelly?
So, of course, here in the state of Texas, they have two sets of legislation. There's Senate Bill 212, and then there is House Bill 1735. And it basically breaks down for us like mandatory reporting, right? And that we in educational spaces, K through 12, all the way up to higher education, are mandatory reporters. So if we hear it, we see it, we have to report it, right? We're mandatory reporters. So when somebody comes under, because it kind of falls into like a code of conduct, Title IX kind of investigation type of violation thing. So if somebody comes under one of those investigations and they find out, that they have violated someone or in the grooming process or anything like that. It is supposed to be that with the various reference checks, that is supposed to actually be disclosed according to Senate Bill 212
Okay.
to prevent like a rehire.
Okay.
So as it states, and I'm quoting this, it says Senate Bill 212 encourages coordination between institutions to prevent rehiring of individuals with unresolved allegations. So it says like, oh, well, we can't, when you call for a reference check, people are saying, oh, well, you can't say certain things. But in this case, because it is a mandatory like reporting situation, it can be said like, this is what happened. And because they are dealing with children, you might want to be aware of hiring that person. Like it might actually come up in like their background that something actually happened, especially if they file like some type of formal charges.
Okay. And if you're in the audience, typically lives like this don't get popular until they start rolling a little bit. So it might be after we record this that the views will start to go up. But if you're those few people that are here watching live with us and you have a question that you would like to ask or something, or if you're even a student, well, I'll say this. If you're a student and you're having some issues and you want somebody to talk to, then you can always reach out to Bandhead Network, and I will do my best to get you. I know quite a few educators in different states and also different cities all over the South and on the East Coast. I don't know too many, and the Midwest as well. And I can get you to a band. I have band directors that are friends that I know that are solid guys. These guys, they give their life to these kids, and I talk to them, and I mean, I can tell. Sometimes somebody might slip through the cracks, but I can tell these are good guys, and they can tell me what to do. And these ladies right here, I have two of my sister-in-laws. One's a social worker. If you need help, she's one of the top social workers in the state of Texas. I'm not going to give her name out, but what I can do is I can get you in touch with her. And my other sister-in-law, she's a principal at a high school here in Houston, Texas. So if you're in the Texas area, Dr. Kells and my sister-in-law can kind of help me get you to the right people. You do have a voice and you can speak out on what's going and happening to you, because that can take a kid into a very depressed place when they go through stuff.
Yeah. And I know most people are concerned about like retaliation, right? So when you enter into talks about retaliation, that becomes another issue within itself. So that's not even something to like worry about, because I know, especially for me, I tell people I try to create a brave space and as safe a space as possible. For my students, and the conversation when they walk through the door, the first thing that I always tell them is no matter what happens, regardless to how you feel about me, how I feel about you, like the relationship that we have, whether it's good, bad, or different, because that's just the way things are, with the program, with the students that we work with. My goal is to always go to war for you, especially when you are 100% right. And you have been wronged. I'm going to go to war for you and make sure that you have your due process, right? And that, right or wrong, we're going to make sure that due process happens, and that you are 100% taken care of, and that somebody advocates for you until you are able to advocate for yourself, because right is right and wrong is wrong. Point blank, period.
Wow.
And can I piggyback on what Dr. Kells was saying about the Title IX and stuff? And that's, all that's true, but and the law, that's the law and everything. But what really happens is they resign and then they get hired somewhere else. So, and then they go and they do it again. And the allegations take so long to wrap up. That's what I'm saying. It takes so long for you can say, okay, we'll turn it in for an investigation, but it's gonna take like a year or whatever for it to happen. So this person is gonna go to Virginia so and so and get a job. Then they're gonna go to Texas so and so and get a job. Then they're gonna go to. I mean, we got repeat offenders out there right now.
Wow. And,
Repeat.
and I would think, because I watch a lot of political news, so it's kind of political what I'm about to say, but I'm not going political left or right with what I'm about to say. But I remember seeing a news story about how police were doing that. You would see police, they get in trouble for some type of discrimination, then they resign and hop to another department. But I believe there is a federal database now. I remember seeing that, to where if they're being charged, that database has to be accessed in order for them to get hired as a policeman in another city, another state. It's a federal database, just how the FBI kind of came up with the fingerprint database so that criminals couldn't cross states or anything like that. And my slightly political statement is the Department of Education could benefit from something like that, just having a file system. But you now know what's happening to the Department of Education right now. It's getting shut down. So stuff like this we really have to speak out now. You know what I'm saying? We really do, because we have to protect our babies. Real talk, we do.
And another, and it is taking me back to the previous institution where I was before I joined Paul Quinn, where we had a situation and I picked up on it that the instructor was not doing something, like was being inappropriate.
Okay.
And I stood 10 toes down and I said, I feel like this is a grooming situation, right? Because we often think like, we don't think about the coercion aspect of it. We think like it's always something positive, which it is, but there's the coercive aspect. But again, it doesn't have to be sexual in nature for it to still have like a coercive aspect. So you can take X amount of students in your class. If you have an issue with something, you could take X amount of students in your class. So this is a power and control dynamic that we talked about, and say, I don't like A, B, C, D. And take these 5 students and say, I need you to do this for me because I don't like A, B, C, D. And you'll be my favorite and you'll pass my class and you'll do this and you'll do that, which is in terms called quid pro quo. So tit for tat, you do this, you get this. You do this for me, I do this for you. So we saw a coercive situation where that happened, where a teacher did not like something and put students out there to say, we feel this way. Wow. And it's all sounded the same. Wow. And you'll notice, because if they're going after more than one student, the students will sound the same, say the same stuff, look the same. It's all going to be repetitive, like the same conversations that they'll have. Or it might be a group of friends. Oh, he's not that bad. He did, it's this way. And they're just yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So it comes up and I said, he is grooming them. I said, but herein lies the issue that we can't fight because he has this and he looks like this.
Wow.
And the students are this, first generation, low income. So we take him to the carpet. He could fight because he has this, and they don't. So a lot of students don't say anything because of that simple power dynamic of money. Well, I want to step up and I want to say something, but what am I going to get? I'm going to probably get me a public defender. I'm probably going to get somebody, I'm probably going to get a prosecutor that may or may not believe what I'm saying, that may not be vested in it, and he's going to win, and it's going to go away, and it's going to be diminished. So what's the point of me even coming out?
Right.
And I can say this because this is a matter of public record, but stood 10 toes down. It was like something is going on, something is weird with this instructor. And here we come 6 months later, and he's actually in the Houston Chronicle for having assaulted his date that he met on Tinder.
Tender. Wow.
And there was an age gap between him and the date. Now she was a older adult, like mid 20s, early 30s, but then there was still even a 20-year age gap between him and his date. And you teach 18, 19, 20-year-olds and possibly some dual credit. Wow. That's 14, 15, 16. I have a problem with that.
I do too.
I was going to say that sometimes they'll do that. They'll wait until they're 30 or whatever and mess with them. They'll wait until they graduate, and again, some of y'all favorites, they married students.
Wow. And that's the grooming. That's where the grooming actually stays in there, because they planted a seed. And they come back and they water it every now and then, just dropping their DMs. Hey, just making sure you're okay. I see you moved out to such and such. You all right? You need no help?
Says anything. Everybody, just because you really can't say anything. A lot of the people, some of the people, I'm not saying certain names, but I mean, it is what it is. Just just speaking on this profession, just in general, you have to kiss the ring. Of certain people, and so everybody does what they need to do to stay in good standing and to stay where in good cahoots with who they need to be in cahoots with. So everybody look at it and they kind of whisper, "Oh, hey, she was one of his dancers. Oh, he was on the band staff with him." But they, nobody will say anything. Right. Now, that's in the HBCU band world. Now, in the music world, it's a little different. You have these things that happen, like what was his name? DeMondre Thurman, the famous euphonium player. He just got caught up in a bunch of grooming a euphonium student in his studio and had a great big fall. See, they'll talk. But in the HBCU band world, we have a culture of silence.
Right. So the cultural side, and then the gatekeeping, like you said. The gatekeeping is pretty bad, because there's this one band director that's been there for a while, and he's been doing it, and all of his students have now graduated, gone to college, the ones that he's done that with, and now that band director has some type of influence in the city or at whatever state that they're in, and that band director is the go-to person for those students to get their jobs. So I mean, like the whole thing with P. Diddy and R. Kelly, all that stuff, because there was some gatekeeping over there too, with all of this that's going on, but wow, it's crazy. It's like a million other questions that popped in my head, but I'm going to stay on script, y'all. I promise you, I'm going to stay on script.
And then I'm going to jump into something, and this is going to go somewhere. And I know you got more questions, but this is taking like a really great conversation. And so bringing out things that, again, we don't necessarily think about. So going back to the control aspect, now this whole scenario is also very much so a double-edged sword. Right. And so I'm going to preempt and preface this by saying in no way, shape, or form am I victim blaming or victim shaming. That is not this. But we do know, and we have seen, because you come to college at 18, right? And the world tells you that you are an adult, right? But the world doesn't necessarily prepare you to be that real adult, right? You start at 18, come to college, you get that skin in the game to then be in certain spaces, right? But now I've come to college, now I've got some freedom, right? Now I'm sitting here and my GA or my TA is 30. I'm 18. I think he's cute. I am going to flirt, right? He thinks, well, she's 18. She's legal. She's flirting with me. I can flirt back. We can have this relationship. Everything is okay. And then now you try to test the boundaries and test the waters with the next 18-year-old.
Right.
So it has that unfortunate double-edged sword, because you have those that, yes, do pursue, right? Because now you've moved into a different level of maturity, right? I'm an adult, I'm legal, I can go after somebody, 12 years older than me, and the law says that it is totally okay, right? And then they start flowing the other way. Well, yeah, I got this 18-year-old, she gave me consent, but then it was easy because I could control her, because she was naive. She didn't know any better, right? But now that 18-year-old becomes that 21-year-old, and again, now you have a little bit more skin in the game, and you're this 34-year-old, and this 21-year-old is like, oh, I'm done. So now here you go, and let me go get this 18-year-old. But this 18-year-old is really naive, and you're giving this 18-year-old it. But now you've worked on them so much, and you pressured them so much, that the no, 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 no has now turned into a yes. That is not consent.
No.
I learned that too. People are like, well, if you pass to somebody and the answer is constantly no, and then they turn it into a yes, that is still not informed consent, because you have worn them down and they're over you. So yes, they're going to tell you yes.
Just to make you leave them alone.
Just to make you leave them alone. So just kind of wanted to throw also that out there, that people don't realize that that's what we see.
Wow. And I hope that some of the things that we're sharing today are helping you if you feel like you're stuck in this situation. Again, I'm gonna keep saying this. I'm a father, and I have kids, and I can only I can only think about the lightning that my mother-in-law and my mom would bring down from the sky if I allowed something like that to happen to one of their grandbabies. That's all I think about. I tell my kids, they want to go do something. I say, no, your grandmother would kill me if I let you do that. That's literally, they could, if I brought them in here and asked them, they would say yes to that. But yeah, thank you for that, Kelly. That was very helpful. But yeah, hopefully we're helping somebody, or if you know somebody that's in that situation, just send them the link. Just send them the link. And before we leave, I'm gonna try. I forgot to pull up some 1-800 numbers and things like that. So I'm gonna try to pull that up while we're talking. That's why I've been kind of going through my phone. But that was the one thing that I meant to do, and I got lost on time with that. So y'all forgive me. And if I don't have it to say it at the end of the podcast, I'll put it in the comments later so that you can know where to go. If there's a national hotline, or or maybe I can just find a website to put the link in that lists all of the states and who you need to call. The easiest thing to do is to go find that one teacher that you know that's a good person. That's the easiest thing to do. And if you're on a college campus, we'll get to that later. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead again. All right, next question. How do we make sure students feel safe and supported when reporting an inappropriate behavior, especially when there is a power imbalance? Whoever wants to take it can jump on that.
Okay, I'll jump in here. So both Title IX, SB 212, and HB 1735 require multiple reporting mechanisms, including online, anonymous, and a third party.
Okay.
We're also required on campus to have a designated Title IX coordinator to handle all reports and oversee all supportive measures. And then there needs to be, or we must, with any touch point for a student, whether it is during orientation, whether it's when they step foot in my office, we must make sure that students know about their rights and protections. And this, again, is per House Bill 1735. The mandates under the House Bill are House Bill 1735 mandates clear policy visibility and training so students know who to trust and how to report. even in situations involving power imbalances like faculty-student relationships. When I was at the community college, after their first semester or after their second semester, they had to do a Title IX training, which involves this, like being able to report and where to go for reporting. So they had to do the Title IX training before we could even register them. We couldn't override the Title IX training. They had to take it. For us as employees, yearly, same thing. We have to have Title IX training virtually, and we'll also have that mandatory reporting in person. But most of the time at the colleges, it is under, like, in the website under complaints.
Okay.
And the students do have the option to, again, report it anonymously. I know, for example, at St. Philip's College in San Antonio, they actually have like the tip line, the hotline, and then they follow the student. And they say when it goes like up the chain, then it does go through the chain of command. But they were like, when it gets to the vice president of student success, then they have a problem.
Oh.
They have a real problem. Yeah. So those are ways to definitely report. And usually the systems are pretty Loctite. So they can't really be breached as far as like the campus community itself, unless you have a username and a password.
Gotcha. Okay. That's great.
And at the K-12 level, this it's pretty much the same thing. During your HR paperwork every year, you have to do the mandatory reporter training. It's against the law. Like, you can go to jail.
Right.
I know band directors that have been to jail because they let their percussion instructors mess around with the kids, and I caught people who had their face plastered all over the news for that. So if that's what you want, keep looking out for your homeboy. But really, but somebody has to say something, and in terms of the mandatory reporting, I know before they really don't make it clear, because every district does it different. And they really don't make it clear what to do. Because like I've had, like a child tell me an incident, and I've mentioned it to the principal, and then I've later got in trouble because, oh, you were supposed to put it in an email. Well, why didn't you say that? So just different things like that. But at the end of the day, I couldn't get in trouble because I did try to tell you something, and you recall that I told you that this child told me. But just to be smart, now in my big age, being a veteran teacher, I document everything. Nice long email detailing everything that was said, wrote down to the letter. And I'm gonna give you a couple copies of it too, email and hard copy, saying that we communicated that. But like I say, it's up to if the director knows something that about their people they got on their staff doing what they do, they have to open their mouth. The issue is they don't. They let it happen. So
right. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. Working at AT&T, I work out in the field. I'm a lineman, but I know that when I have a conversation with my manager, he's going to get a response per our conversation. Blah 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 blah. Am I correct? And if I don't get a response, then he gets a text message from me. Did you get my email? I just need a response from you before I do what I'm about to do, so I don't get in trouble doing what I need to do, because that's my livelihood, And Kelly answered on the last question already. Both of you kind of did, which was what kind of training do teachers receive to understand the boundaries of an appropriate relationship with the student. So thank you both for answering that. So you kind of helped us with a little time pushing on. And we're going to close out in a few, but I just have a few things that I want to say. Just because that band director is really good at his job does not make him a great leader. And by being good at his job, I mean being able to do music, write music, and run a program. That that don't mean that they're meant to do that, because they can still be immature in mind, because that's the kind of people that are doing these kind of things, in my honest opinion. It's not just men doing it, it's women too. So we have named no names. We're just talking about the behaviors, and we're talking about how to identify them, and then what do you do once you identify these behaviors? If that man is inboxing you, tell him stop, or I'm going to tell my mom. And then tell your mama. You're not ratting. You can still go do that. Go talk to your parents. If you don't feel talking to your parent, like I said, find that teacher that you can talk to. Find that administrator that you feel like is in it for your best interest. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys have your closing thoughts, and then I'm going to close out myself. Jamie?
I just think it's time out. True women do it, but in this profession, it is 99.99999% a boys' club, and it's too much covering up for each other. They look out for each other. We don't. I'm speaking as a woman in this profession. We don't look out for each other the way they do. Oh no, we throw each other under the bus quick, fast, and the little few of us. Some of us like to key with them. I'm one that don't. I don't key with these directors.
Mm-hmm.
I let my talent stand on its own, but a lot of them, they key with these guys, and so it continues, and so we throw each other under the bus, but they cover for each other all the time. You have to start saying something, and it's up to us. I'm just ready for the HBCU band world to get more like the music world. The music world kind of had their Me Too movement, and they're still having it. These women are coming out, but in the HBCU band world, every day I sit and I look at Uncut, and I look at, and we're still cackalacking and kikiing with predators, known predators, directors. They got whole podcasts out there about them, detailing things they've done to students. We still sitting up here with the key every day with them, and it's time out for it. I'm over it.
Wow, that is sad. That's sad. Thank you for that, Jamie. Okay, Kelly. Almost Dr. Kells.
So I'm gonna hit some hard facts, because sometimes you got to shock people into changing the way that they think and the way that they respond to things. So again, on the higher ed side, because for us, in some situations, we've seen them put the hammer down, and again, in some situations, we've seen them be very lenient about it. But all employees are required to report any incidences of like sexual harassment, sexual assault, dating violence, or stalking involving a student or employee to the institution's Title IX coordinator. The report must be made promptly and in good faith. So a penalty for non-compliance. So we think that, it's just the person like that gets in trouble. No, we can get in trouble also if we do not comply. So you get a Class B misdemeanor for failing to report. You can get a Class A misdemeanor, of course, a more serious offense, if the employee intentionally conceals an incident. You can also have mandatory termination of employment for anyone found to have knowingly failed to report. And then with the institutional responsibility, colleges and universities can actually face fines up to $2 million for systematically failing to comply with the law. And we know we can't give up no money. And we know we can't do no time in jail.
Wow.
And we know we cannot afford to not be at work. This is if you do not report.
Wow, that's just if you don't report.
If you don't report it,
you ain't even did nothing wrong, but
you have not done anything wrong, but you are privy to it. And if you fail to report it, these things can definitely happen to you.
That's what I said. people went to jail for that.
Yeah, you gotta, yeah.
Because they lit the percussion instructor.
Wow.
And I think, and honestly, I think if more institutions not only crack down on those of us band directors, instructors, everybody that's doing the grooming and doing the harassment, not only if you just crack down on them, but if you crack down on the people that fail to report, man, it would change the culture of, how we think and how we move and how we do things. And I definitely agree. And it's not just, you say the HBCU band world. I think it's the HBCU world, period. Right? Because we don't want to, I like to say, pull back our books and people see what's going on, because we got to protect the secrets, because what goes on in the house stays in the house. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is not acceptable. That is not okay. We're going to handle them internally and then we're going to sweep it under the rug. No, I need you to go outside and I need you to tar and feather these people.
They do. They always claim the charges got dropped. That's all. They always say that. The charges always get dropped.
It's so scary that, and I'm gonna go back to the podcast that I help again. The name is Church Diaries Unlocked. It's my god sister, and I just help her out with her podcast. But I see all of this. I see the victim blaming from the pastor. Oh, she was loose. How's a 12-year-old girl loose? You know what I'm saying? Oh, she was promiscuous. Well, how'd she get like that? Who groomed her into that mindset in the beginning? You know what I'm saying? Or you have the fear of destroying the church or destroying the band program, and you're like, I'm gonna just be quiet and go on about my business. But guess what? It's gonna happen to somebody else. And you need to be the one to help stop that. If it happens to you, you need to stop it. It's your responsibility. Just imagine if you had a little sister that came 3 years behind you.
Oh, they ready to fight over their people now.
Huh?
Right.
They ready to fight over their people.
Right. And that's like, we get mad because, the favorite person, the favorite person in Baton Rouge that everybody loves to hate is Chris Nakamoto. Chris Nakamoto would not be knocking at your door if you would go ahead and handle your business.
Right.
And I'm not saying like all the time that we necessarily have to like drag people through, like put it on blast, right? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But you got to take the steps to make sure like it's properly documented and that the person is like terminated and removed, right? And we have to stop protecting the predators. So yeah, when I call you for a reference for HR, yes, they was like, well, you have to, say things within the scope of their job. Well, it wasn't in the scope of their job to touch somebody's child. Right. So why can I not tell you?
Right.
That's the part where we have to be a little bit more responsible and candid when we're having these conversations. And then again, it wouldn't necessarily blow up so bad in the media because they're exposing it if we didn't go ahead and handle our business and take them to the woodshed, as they say, and do what you need to do, right?
And I know you're trying to end this thing. I know you're trying to
go ahead.
I'm sorry, but just in going back to the HBCU band world, that's what your platform is about. Look, we just got to stop entertaining this stuff because we're entertaining. I'm gonna tell you how Jamie is. Your whole entire HBCU band staff can come to my school or come to another school. But if you on the staff and I heard anything or seen anything about you being a predator or a pedo, I won't take a picture with you. Don't come stand next to me. I'm not gonna go over there and cackalack with you. Right. I'm not gonna do any of that. I'm gonna make sure that you feel uncomfortable because I heard and I saw evidence that you're a pedo.
And all it takes is the news. All it takes is the news to pull up a picture of them and you standing right beside them.
Right, exactly. So I'm not, no. So if I have not taken it next to you or sitting next to you, know why I heard.
Yeah. And stop doing what you're doing and go get help.
Stop doing what you're doing.
Go get help. Use your EAP Flip that insurance card on the other side. Everybody that has any type of health insurance has Employee Assistance Program, EAP. It's a 1-800 number on the back of it, and you can call, and your job pays for up to 20 psychiatrist appointments in a year. Go get some help, whoever you are. Okay. Wow. This has been great. I want to thank you, ladies. Miss Jamie, Miss Almost Dr. Kells, she, her, Ella. You guys have been awesome. So let's wrap it up. Today we confronted a deeply, painfully reality that some of the very people entrusted with sharpening young minds have instead chosen to exploit them. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the darkness of these stories, but awareness is power. Every conversation we have, every warning sign we learn to recognize, and every policy we push for brings us closer to a world where children are safer. To the survivors listening, your courage is immeasurable. Your voice matters. Healing is not a straight path, but you are not alone in the journey. You have us. You have that teacher that you trust. You have that pastor that you trust that you can go talk to. Because just so you know, pastors, when you talk to them, if they are clergy, no matter what state they're in the United States, if they are clergy, they have to report it immediately. Your pastor that you trust has your back. You have a family member, an uncle, or anybody that you can talk to that will get you to the right people. But like almost Dr. Kells and Jamie said, just about every website for every school or institution that you belong to will guide you where you need to go. You can go to questions, and the key word that you need to type in is Title IX. And I guarantee you that every website has a search option. I guarantee you it'll get you where you need to go. And to everybody else, I want you to stay alert, speak up, believe children when they tell you something feels wrong. One trusted adult can make all the difference. Thank you all for being a part of this conversation. It's your boy J Law. I'm out.